Welcome to Smash and Play, your go-to channel for everything gaming and the stories behind the consoles we love. Today we're diving into some of the biggest and most surprising mistakes made by video game companies throughout history. These blunders didn't just impact the companies, they changed the course of the entire industry. Want to know what they were? Stick around, because this video is packed with lessons every gamer should know. Let's start with Nintendo and their Wii U console. On paper, the idea wasn't bad. A powerful console with a tablet-like controller featuring a touchscreen, motion controls, and the ability to play games on your TV or the controller itself. But from day one, confusion reigned. Many people thought the Wii U was just an accessory for the original Wii, not a completely new system. The commercials didn't help either, often showing only the gamepad without clearly emphasizing the new console sitting next to the TV. Parents in stores were unsure if they were buying an upgrade or a brand new system. Add to that a weak launch lineup, poor third-party support, and a $349 price tag, and you have a recipe for disaster. The Wii U sold only 13 million units, making it Nintendo's worst-selling home console ever. Ironically, many of its ideas later fueled the massive success of the Nintendo Switch. Moving on to Sega, we have the Saturn, one of the most chaotic console launches in history. In 1995, Sega tried to surprise Sony by launching the Saturn earlier than planned, without notifying retailers or developers. This resulted in few stores having it in stock and barely any games available at launch. Plus, it cost $399 compared to Sony's PlayStation announced at $299, instantly winning consumer favor. The Saturn fell behind and never really took off. Now let's talk about the Xbox One and its controversial 2013 launch. Microsoft focused more on TV integration and included a mandatory Kinect camera, which pushed the price up to $499. But the real outrage came from its DRM policies, requiring players to connect online every 24 hours and limiting used games. Gamers immediately revolted, and Sony capitalized by launching the PS4 without those restrictions, quickly winning the market battle. Microsoft had to backtrack but had already lost momentum. We can't forget the infamous Red Ring of Death on the Xbox 360. Shortly after its 2005 launch, many users reported severe hardware failures indicated by 3 red lights circling the power button. This was caused by overheating and internal motherboard issues. Microsoft extended warranties and spent $1 billion on repairs. Despite this, the Xbox 360 became a huge success, though that failure remains one of the most costly hardware mistakes ever. Sony also had its share of errors with the PlayStation Classic Mini in 2018. While it seemed like a great idea to revive PS1's best games in a tiny form factor, it disappointed with a strange game lineup and many titles running slower 50 Hz PAL versions instead of smoother 60 Hz NTSC versions for North America. The emulation was poor, and with a $99 price tag, it felt overpriced. Going back in time, Atari made one of the most legendary mistakes with the ET game for Atari 2600 in 1982. With only 5 weeks to develop it, the game turned out nearly unplayable and incredibly frustrating. Nintendo also stumbled with the Nintendo 64 by sticking with cartridges instead of CDs. While cartridges loaded faster and were harder to pirate, they had much less storage and were expensive for developers. This scared away major studios like Square, who took Final Fantasy to PlayStation and helped define Sony's late 90s dominance. Sony tried to innovate with the PSP Go in 2009, a smaller digital-only version of the PSP. But removing the UMD disk drive alienated loyal fans who couldn't play their physical games anymore or transfer them. At $249, it was more expensive than the standard PSP, but offered less. Retailers gave it little shelf space, and it was discontinued after 2 years. The PlayStation Vita promised powerhouse handheld gaming, with dual analog sticks and a gorgeous OLED screen. But Sony locked it behind expensive proprietary memory cards. One 32GB card costing over $100 when a standard SD card was $30. Since digital downloads required these cards, costs doubled for players up front. Combined with limited first-party support and weak adoption, Vita sold just 15 million units. Finally, we can't forget Nokia's N-Gage from 2003, a failed attempt to combine a phone and handheld gaming device. Its awkward taco-shaped design forced players to hold it sideways to answer calls. Changing games meant removing the battery, a ridiculous process for a portable device. It was expensive at $299 compared to competitors, and had a sparse game library. These examples prove that even giants can make epic mistakes that reshape markets and affect generations of gamers. Thanks for joining us today on Smash and Play. If you enjoyed this look at some of gaming's biggest console mistakes, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for daily gaming content. Also, follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things gaming. See you next time here on Smash and Play, where we play, analyze, and celebrate everything video games. Until then,